A nonprofit in the Rocket City is helping foreign-born people affected by domestic violence and human trafficking. Ariana Willoughby shows us how we can help.
Noticing the signs and being able to identify someone who is in a life or death situation can be easy, but only if you know what you're looking for. AskaKiran, a local nonprofit, is helping foreign-born men and women who are victims of domestic violence and human trafficking.
AskaKiran is a crisis service nonprofit. We provide culturally sensitive services to those who have been affected by domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking.
Volunteers offer help for people who may be faced with language barriers and are unfamiliar with how to advocate for themselves when faced with a crisis. AskaKiran provides safe houses for those who need to get out of a tough situation.
So we do try to focus on the foreign-born and culturally diverse communities, because we understand that trauma does look different in different cultures.
Abuse comes in many different forms, and looking out for your family and friends could save their life. Domestic violence isn't just physical, it can be financial or emotional as well. Even if you're in a public place like a restaurant or an airport, you can still be on the lookout.
There are many different types of signs of abuse. You can look at if there's financial abuse, if somebody is withholding your money, your bank account cards, telling you how to spend your money. Of course, there's an emotional abuse, gaslighting, belittling, threatening behavior, and of course, physical abuse.
AskaKiran helps out people from the entire state of Alabama, and they're constantly seeking volunteers. They offer a free interpreter training program for fluent or bilingual individuals who want to become professional interpreters. Visit our website to find out more information about the course. Putting the Valley first, Ariana Willoughby, WZDX News.